Welcome to the Neurodiverse Lens, a CDL podcast featuring Carolyn and Jordan.
Welcome back to another episode of the Neurodiverse Lens, a podcast where we look at life through the lens of neurodiversity. I'm here today with Jordan, who's our communication manager here at the Center for Diverse Learners.
Perfect. Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about something close to both of our hearts. October is Learning Disabilities Awareness Month. So in this episode today, we're going to be busting myths, sharing stories from our programs, and talk about how our community can help students who are waiting for support. So, Carolyn, let's start right there. When we say Learning Disabilities Awareness Month, what do we want people to take away, and why does dedicating a whole month to this matter mean so much for families?
I think the most important thing to note, and why Learning Disability Awareness Month is so important, is that I have this crazy belief. I believe that all students should have the opportunity to learn. Mm-hmm. We need an awareness month because some students learn differently. Some students require different supports to learn. Not that they can't learn, not that they're struggling students, but that they need different approaches. And until all students receive the approaches they need to succeed, we need to have a Learning Disability Awareness Month. Because right now, there are kids who could be more successful if they were receiving the support that they needed. And I just believe every child, no matter what, deserves an opportunity to learn and deserves the supports that they require.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, when students do receive those supports, they are more successful. Their classmates are more successful. It just creates a better environment for every student in that classroom. One of the biggest challenges with learning disabilities is still the misunderstanding. So I wanted to ask, what's the most common myth that you've heard about learning disabilities, and how do we explain simply what an LD is and what it isn't?
That's a great question, and it's one I get all the time. I want to preface this by saying that in this episode, we might oversimplify really complicated concepts such as how learning disabilities are diagnosed, but there's still really important overall statements that I can make. So the first and most pervasive myth is that students with learning disabilities are stupid. Mm-hmm. And I want to say this out loud because this is the thing that people aren't saying out loud, but is really impacting their biases and the way that they treat children and the way that they determine resources and who gets support. The other reason why I want to bust this myth is at the Center for Diverse Learners, I can't tell you the amount of times on the first or second lesson a kid comes in and they feel this overwhelming need to let us know that they're stupid, that they want us to have lower expectations for them because they have internalized that message. However, and this is so important to note, to be diagnosed with a learning disability, you have to have an average or above IQ. What a learning disability is, to be really simplistic, is it is a child who has the capacity to learn, so an average or above average IQ, but is struggling in one or more areas of learning. So this is a child who can be very bright. Sometimes we'll see psych ed reports where a kid has a really high IQ, and yet they are 4 or 5 grade levels behind in a certain area. And it means that they're, for whatever reason, and there can be lots of reasons, working memory impairment, executive functioning struggles, auditory struggles, the list would go on, and I'm not going to sit and list all of them, but they are struggling to learn in the current classroom environment. And I always want to put that little piece to it, because just because someone has a learning disability doesn't mean necessarily that they will always struggle to learn. In the right environment, they might not have the same amount of struggles as they would in an environment that was less supportive of their needs, which is why we do this advocacy, because we've got these kids who can learn, who will learn and can succeed, but they need the right support. And it seems cruel to me to deny that of any child.
Yeah, I completely 100% agree. When parents, talking about the advocacy piece, when parents come to CDL, if it's them booking a free resource call with us, if they live in Halton, or they're sending an email to our general inbox, if you could give them one line of hope in that first line of communication they make to us, what would you say?
Okay, great. I have a great answer for that, but I also have some good news. We can now support Hamilton families with resource calls. So
Okay.
because of the Hamilton District Society for Disabled Children, we can support Hamilton families with resource calls. So all those Hamilton families, book those calls.
Okay.
But to answer your question, the one thing I want parents to know is that how your child is functioning right now in this moment does not necessarily determine how they will be in the future. If you are a good parent, you're worried about your child's future. You are thinking about, well, what about when they're 20? But, your child might be 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that can change with the right support. So take that weight off your shoulders because the number one thing parents will say to me, Jordan, is, I should have gotten help sooner. I should have pushed the school harder. And I don't think parents should live with that regret. With the right support, we can change the story for these kids.
Yeah. That's, sorry to go back to the free resource calls for Hamilton families. That is amazing news. So I'm just going to make a little plug. If you're interested in receiving some free resource help through the Center for Diverse Learners, you can visit our website at diverselearners.ca, and there's a button on every screen that says Parent Support Appointment. You can click that, make an appointment, or you can give us a call, send us an email, and we can help you with the booking process. And you can carve out some very specific time with one of our staff members to kind of talk about the resources you might need, or if you just need someone to listen or want to learn more about our programs. So very exciting.
I love sharing good news on the podcast.
Yeah.
I saved it for the podcast because I wanted your genuine reaction to it.
That's amazing. But yeah, so I kind of wanted to talk about the strengths and realities as well of learning disabilities. So sometimes LDs get talked about only in terms of barriers, but there are strengths too. I was wondering if you might be able to share about how our students' unique ways of thinking can become real assets for them if they have the right supports in place.
I love that you said that we're always talking about the deficiencies when we're talking about learning disabilities, and there are a lot of strengths. There are strengths whenever someone else's brain works differently. The number one thing that I see, and that will be so important later in their life that they may take for granted right now, is that they problem solve differently. Mm-hmm. Meaning, when there is a problem, they often come up with very creative solutions to that problem. And sometimes that benefit isn't necessarily seen in school, because in school, oftentimes, for lots of reasons, I say this without criticism, they want you to do a project a certain way, or they want you to answer a math question in a certain way. But in the workplace, that kind of creative thinking is really important. The other strength, and there is a wide variety of learning disabilities, but another strength that they often bring that I see is they have learned to be resilient, and they've learned to work hard. When I see a kid who has a learning disability in high school, they've had to work harder than other students.
Yeah.
And that often can take them farther. There's some kids who don't really have to work hard until they hit university, and then it hits them, and they suddenly have to do all of these things they've never done before. But kids with learning disabilities know how to work hard. They know how to ask for help because they've had to. And so that can set them up for future success. I have often, and I've been working with kids with learning disabilities for 20 years now. Please, no one do the math on that. And what I will tell you is there have been times where I've had to sit across from a kid and they'll say, it's so hard. Why does it have to be so hard for me? And I have to have a really difficult conversation. And the conversation has to be like, reading is going to be harder for you.
Yeah.
You are going to have to practice more. You are going to have to take more time when you read. You might need to use accessibility software. But that doesn't take away from the achievement you will once have. In everything else in life, we tend to reward people who've worked really hard for that hard work. You know, when we look at athletes, no one is critical of an athlete who's like, well, that athlete had to train really hard, so that gold medal doesn't really mean anything. But in North America, our view of school is that we tend to overvalue students who get it naturally versus the student who had to work hard for it. And that message gets put into children. And that isn't true globally, but it is true in North America, where we have this idea that it's better to just have it naturally. And that can really hold kids with learning disabilities back, because they think, okay, well, even if they get a good mark, they're like, yeah, I got a good mark, but I had to practice with my mom every night, instead of being able to celebrate the success. And I think that's something as adults, and through Learning Disability Awareness Month and through the work we do at CDL, we need to a little bit deconstruct, and we need to celebrate kids' hard work and effort. I have worked with kids where I will say to the parent, okay, this is what we're going to say to this child. When this report card comes home, you're going to take it from your child, you're going to put it on top of the refrigerator, and you're going to say to the child, I'm not reading it, because I already know you worked hard, and that's what I want to reward. We're going out for dinner tonight. Or we're having your favorite meal, or we're going to have family time at the park. Yeah. Because we're celebrating your hard work. I don't need to know where that ended up against the provincial curriculum. I am already celebrating your hard work. And so we need to do a better job of that. And that's one of the reasons this month is so important to me, because I think we need to highlight that message.
Yeah, that's honestly such a good perspective to put it in. I've never thought of it in terms of like, well, an athlete trains so hard, or like, you know, someone who's maybe really good at chess, you know, practices a lot, but, you know, it's never the students that are working much, much harder than those who may just automatically get it. But I kind of want to shift into what we actually do here at CDL. I wanted to kind of give our listeners a snapshot of each of the programs that we run and why they matter, especially to those kids who do have learning disabilities or just might be neurodiverse.
Great.
So I want to start with our academic program. So if you want to give us kind of an overview of our Leaps in Literacy program and then Mastering Math.
Absolutely. So Leaps in Literacy is our small group, completely free for Hamilton and Halton families program. Thank you to United Way and the Halton region for the support of that program. This program is designed to use the most latest research. This research was funded by United Way, and they let us look into what does effective literacy instruction look like. And we came away with some takeaways. We are going to use a systematic approach. We're going to use scope and sequence. We're going to study phonics and how words are created and how those sounds work with reading. The importance of that group and why it works for kids who have learning issues is it's based in direct instruction. We are explaining why something is and allowing students to make that connection. Kids need to understand how words are constructed so that they can replicate the sounds and they can start to read more fluently. And that is the heart of that program. And this is what we're talking about when we're talking about kids need the right support. Often in the classroom, kids are taught with a whole language approach or what's called a balanced approach, and that won't work for kids with learning disabilities. They need to know why is the F, and like why
Yeah.
that sound works and how that works when we put together a whole word, and how do we put together a word, and how do vowel sounds change, because English is a very challenging language with a lot of rule breaking in those pieces, and we know that kids with learning disabilities do better through direct instruction, through scope and sequence, and through an understanding of phonics. So that's what we provide.
Yeah.
And then mastering mathematics. So I love teaching math. Math is one thing I love to teach. Partly because I'm not the greatest at math.
Right.
And so teaching it is really important to me because I think I see it from the same lens that the kids do. Our math program is multisensory, meaning kids get to understand the numbers through manipulatives. They understand why 2 10s are 20.
Yeah.
The different ways you could construct the number 60. And this allows them to do more complex operations as they go because they're understanding what the math is. And again, it is also grounded in that direct instruction. And so from this program, we're able to have kids grow really quickly in their math skills because a lot of time what we're noticing with students is that they don't have the foundations. They really don't understand that the number 16 is 1 10 and 6 ones.
Yeah.
And that is foundational for the understanding of math.
Yeah, and I've been in some of our program spaces while our academic programs are running. And I also just have to shout out the CDL staff. We have some of the best educators that I've been lucky enough to volunteer in their space during program time. And I just have to say, if I had math educators like the ones we have, I don't know, maybe I would have a different trajectory of my career afterwards, because even just sitting there watching our teachers teach is, I'm learning new things all the time.
And
yeah.
the other part that's really important about our educators that I think is really important when we're looking at learning disabilities holistically, these are kids who don't have a lot of self-esteem. And one thing our educators do so well is they help kids celebrate their own success. They help kids recognize their success, they help them build that success, and then they celebrate it together. I always feel pumped up after I've watched a session because you watch our educators help the students not only learn the material, but do it in a safe environment that is improving their confidence. Our programs are designed from a success-based model, meaning we're not pushing kids until they fail. We're making sure that the lessons are designed so kids leave feeling successful and leave feeling like they've gained more information.
Yeah. And I also, another part of our programs is our social emotional side of things. So our social skills programs, I was wondering if you could talk a bit more about our friendships and relationships program and also executive functioning.
Yeah, these are great programs, and they're also designed to meet the other needs that are going on with learning disabilities. So learning disabilities can often affect communication, which can absolutely affect relationships. It can affect the way students view interactions. And so our social skills program is designed to help students build better communication, have healthier relationships, and build in that emotional regulation, which can be such a large piece. And then they get to do it in a fun environment where they get to role play with each other. What I really like about that program is that they're given not homework, but stuff they can practice at home so that parents are empowered to support their children. They know how to support their children, and they get to practice in between the sessions. So they're really building those skills as they interact with the world. When we look at our executive functioning, I think everyone needs to take this course. Of course, I'm biased, but I really, and I know we're talking about learning disabilities today, but executive functioning is such an important course. Part of being able to do well at school is not just the academics. It is the study skills that go along with it.
Yeah.
How do you plan? How do you organize? How do you keep a binder neat? I'm actually asking because I cannot. How do you study for a test? all of those skills, which we know can often be low in kids who have learning disabilities, are taught
Yeah.
explicitly in this course in a way that doesn't shame kids for not already having done this and not already having these skills. We see this with kids all the time. They feel like they should already know it, and our executive functioning course is like, it's okay that you don't know it. We're learning it together
Yeah.
now. And I think that that is really powerful.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to sit in on a few of our executive functioning sessions this summer, and I can say, even as an adult with a group of grade 6s to 8s, I was like, yeah, like, teach me. I need to learn this stuff now. And honestly, I got some good tips that will even really help me through like my working career too. So yeah, I think that's a really important course that kind of, every family should also look at this side of programming as well as the academics, because they really do go hand in hand. But we kind of have two newer programs that we haven't talked about yet. So we have our homework health program and also our friendship club program.
Yeah, Homework Health is a program I'm really proud of. It's one we put together as a team last year. And with the support of the Ontario Trillium Foundation and United Way, we were able to pilot this project. And what Homework Health is it's meeting the two needs that kids with learning disabilities have. They get drop-in homework help. They just come and they get the homework help they need from educators and volunteers so that their homework is done properly and that parents have less stress.
Yeah.
I know that kids coming home with homework is stressful for parents, so they get to come there, get their homework done, and enjoy the rest of their night. But we also know that emotional regulation and mental health concerns are often comorbid with learning disabilities. So we have youth mental health workers on site to work with the students and help them learn some of those key mental health strategies that will in turn help them do better academically as well as emotionally. And then Friendship Club is the little program that could. So the history of Friendship Club is we were hearing from parents last summer. So last summer I was new in the position and our director of programming was on leave, and I promised everyone no summer programming. But then we were hearing from parents. My kid's isolated. They're not able to enroll in camp this summer and they don't have any friends. They are alone for 2 months. And I was like, this cannot be.
Yeah.
So despite the fact that we had no funding to do it, and we did it on a shoestring and a hope budget, we started once a week having students come together and have facilitated playtime. So we help them build those skills through, they're interacting, they're building something with Lego, and we might help facilitate conversation. Or we notice a kid sitting off on their own, we might help them join the group or help the group join them. We help students make those connections, and we helped students make real friendships, and that is the most important part to me. They had fun in Friendship Club, and now they've got real friends outside of Friendship Club, and that's why we're so grateful for Rotary Lakeshore, who gave us funding so we can now do it on PA days this year, which we weren't planning on doing, but because of their support and from hearing from parents how important it is, we're able to do that this year. And this is the thing about having a not-for-profit, is we're constantly trying to meet needs, but sometimes needs are there that we can't predict. And this is why we sometimes need the support of our community to be able to do something like on a shoestring and a hope budget to offer to families.
Yeah, and when you put all of these programs kind of together, it really is a whole child approach. It's not just about their academics, but their confidence, mental health, and belonging as well. But I just want to take a quick pause here, and I want to talk about how we still do have kids waiting to join our programs. They're on our wait lists. We can serve them. We have the resources too, but we just need to hire the staff to do so. We have the space, but we need your help, our listeners, to become monthly donors, especially this month, October, Learning Disabilities Awareness Month. You can donate $42 a month, and that only equals out to $1.40 a day, which is less than a Tim Hortons coffee. So,
And Jordan is laughing because I'm always nagging the staff about how they should make coffee at our center and not buy coffee.
yes. So yeah, for really less than a coffee a day, you could change the story for a student on our wait list. So if you're listening right now, you can click the link either in the bio underneath the video, or if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can click the link in the description of the episode, and that'll take you to our website, diverselearners.ca/donate, where you can become a monthly donor and really help support a student who is really in need to attend our programs.
Can I share the story of a family that is currently on the wait list?
Yeah.
That is currently on the top of our list. This is a family, the child is in grade 2 and currently has no observable academic skills. They're not reading and they're not able to do math. They are on the very long wait list to get assessed, so we're not sure currently what's holding this child back. But some things we do know is the reason why this family is on the wait list is that they couldn't enroll in our programs because they didn't live in this area. The mom came to this area because she was fleeing a domestic violence situation. And so they didn't sign up for our programs until our form was open for 3 weeks.
Right.
And I will tell you, because someone may think, well, why don't you fit that child into this program? All of our students in our programs currently need to be in the programs. There's not a
Yeah.
single child I would bump off to fit this child in. We need your support to get this child into our programs, and many families like this. It is my hope that before you're even watching this, we've got this family in. But I could tell the story of 10 more families just as deserving who are waiting for that support. And like Jordan said, we have the space. We have the resources, the math kits, all of those pieces. The part that is most expensive for an organization like us is the staff. We need to hire the qualified educators who understand how kids with learning disabilities learn to do the work so that we can serve more kids.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to talk a bit more about our wait list, to give some hope to those families that are on it. What might it look? I know we kind of came up with a new strategy for how our programs are running this academic year. What does that mean for families, and what might it look like if the wait list kind of becomes smaller?
So if a family is on the wait list, one of the things we look to do is when we receive more funding, we add more students into the program. Normally, we run our program to have 3 distinct program seasons, which we're still doing, but we're also allowing families to sign up for the whole year because we were understanding that academic issues aren't solved in an 8-week program. We also have added 3 full weeks of programming every year. We used to run 24 weeks of programming. We've extended it to 27 because in the gaps between the program weeks, we were noticing some students were regressing skills, or students who had emotionally connected with their tutors were losing that connection.
Yeah.
But this also means that there are families who in January we will get a different hockey schedule or a dance schedule, and they may no longer be in our program for a while. They may come back, and that will open spaces. And then as we receive funding, and it is a direct correlation, we get a monthly donor, we can get a kid into our programs, and then we will add families for there. Our desire to have more continuous programs means that there might be a wait list, but our hope is, as the year progresses, to get kids off that wait list and into our programs. Because our programs are already running, it is an easy change to add those kids in.
Yeah, and I know we're kind of talking about monthly donors, but what would it look like for someone who might not be in the place to donate monthly? What are maybe some other ways that they could support our mission?
That's a great question. These are hard times for a lot of families, and we would never want a family to experience hardship to give to us, but we
Yeah.
know that there are so many people who want to support. One way is through volunteering. The more
Yeah.
volunteers we have also leads to the more students that we have. We can have larger groups when we have volunteers we can count on. We can have sometimes groups of 5 because
Yeah.
we can count on having a qualified volunteer. So that is a great way of supporting our mission. But there's an even easier message that you can help spread to support us, which is, okay, so if you watched this podcast,
Yeah.
put on your social media how much you enjoyed our podcast, and then maybe a secret billionaire will see it and they'll donate to us. I make a joke, but I think sometimes people underestimate how important it is to just like or comment on our
Yeah.
social media. It really does help our reach. We had someone who just attended our event who had no idea our organization existed, but saw it on someone's social media, bought a ticket, and now they're like, how can I support this organization?
Yeah.
So if you're one of the many people out there who does not have the funds or the time to support our organization right now, you're already watching this. You're probably already on your phone or computer. A like, a comment really does support us and help us support more kids during this
Yeah.
Learning Disability Awareness Month.
Yeah, and maybe I'm biased, but volunteering is very important. If you are interested in volunteering in our programs, feel free to reach out directly to me. I oversee all of our amazing volunteers. In our new impact report that's going to be coming out soon, there's an entire volunteer spotlight. One of our Friendship Club volunteers, Grace, will be speaking about her experience being a volunteer at CDL, and just how much of a difference it's made in her life, giving back and working with kids with learning disabilities, ADHD, autism, and anyone who's just neurodiverse in our programs. So yeah, you can reach out. You can email info@diverselearners.ca or visit our website, click the Get Involved button, and head to our volunteer page. If you are interested, all of our postings are on there. But also, I mean, I also do run the social media, so I appreciate all likes, comments, and subscriptions, especially for our podcast channel as well. But yeah.
I will say volunteering is really important, and here's why. Obviously, I'm someone who's super passionate about education. Anyone who's watched this knows that I am super passionate about this. But education wasn't my career choice. That wasn't what I thought I was going to do. I thought I was going to go into either law or archaeology. But then my parents made me volunteer. And out of sheer laziness, I decided to volunteer at the public school around the corner from my house and fell in love with teaching in like 10 minutes. I was like, this is what I meant to do. And so if you're one of the people watching, maybe you're a neurodiverse individual who's like, what career can I have as a neurodiverse individual? Volunteering is a great way to find out what you love to do. So that's kind of my plug for reaching out to Jordan and becoming a volunteer.
Come talk to me. But yeah, before we wrap up, I kind of wanted to give listeners something practical that they can try at home. So do you have a quick strategy to maybe share with parents or caregivers that they can use tonight or later with their kids that can make a difference?
Yeah, 2 things. We're not talking about school time. Whenever that is, your kids need to know that there's a time when they're not going to have to talk about school with you, where you're not going to just suddenly come into their room and go, what about your book report? And stick to that rule. Whether it's after 7 o'clock, we don't talk about school, whether it's we don't talk about school on Sundays, give your child that time where they don't feel like academics are hanging over their head. And number 2 is read with, to, and listen to your child read.
Yeah.
Do all the reading things. I don't care how old your kid is. If they're 12 years old, do a book club with them. Read the same book, even if they're reading it independently and you're reading it independently. Also, if your child is struggling to read, maybe them reading to you every night is creating stress on the home. But your kid does benefit academically to have you read to them as long as they're following along with their eyes. one of my favorite games to play, especially with the little ones, is, okay, I'm going to read and you're going to watch with your eyes. And then every once in a while, I'll sneak in like a fake word or a silly word, and I'll be like, they went to the store on an elephant, and the kid's supposed to yell stop or wrong or whatever. And it just makes the kid kind of follow along with their eyes. And it also makes reading fun, because if reading is the thing your child is struggling at, that's a heavy weight to carry. And so having home be a safe place where reading is fun will help them in the long term. I think that has more benefit than the child crying as you're going through flashcards of words. Yeah. And so there is a benefit to you reading to your child. Don't think that that's taking the easy way out, because I know our schools, and as they should, are telling that kids should read 20 minutes a night, but if your child is really struggling, you might want to read to your child and just have them follow along.
Yeah. Those are really great strategies. So for the listeners, the parents, the caregivers, maybe take a second, rewind, get a pen, get a paper, write those down, and then hopefully you can implement them in your home. But I really just want to close this out that, October shines a spotlight on learning disabilities, but for families, especially in our community here at CDL, this is year round. So if you want to make a difference, the most impactful thing you can do today for CDL is to become a monthly donor. That's $42 a day, just $42 a month, just $1.40 a day, takes a child off of our wait list and into the supports that they need.
Thank you, Jordan. And does this mean you will start making coffees at the office?
Yes, I will. I promise.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for listening to the Neurodiverse Lens, a CDL podcast. For more information, visit diverselearners.ca.